After the first game of that season, I realized how much I liked being a coach.
The opportunities just kept coming. You know, do you want to be a GA, and then you can help the coordinator, and then you can be the coordinator?
Well, then I guess I have to say it. I'm not going to be the Alabama coach. What?
That's what he has to say. He's got 65 guys sitting in the meeting room. He's trying to lead for the next month.
It wasn't like an emotional, in-the-moment decision. It was calculated through the season and an improvement of a young player.
End zone. Touchdown!
And the Crimson Tide has once again ascended to the top of the college football mountain.
It's not okay to go out there and not do your job well. I don't care what the situation in the game is, there is no scoreboard.
Growing up in a very isolated, kind of coal mining community. My dad was a coal miner, and Nick and I are both first generation college, first in our families to go to college. I was around Big Nick, and I knew him as a business leader, as owning the gas station in the community and the little Dairy Queen across the street. And we knew him to be very demanding and a perfectionist, but always kind-hearted, always somebody that if you had trouble in the community, you could go to Mr. Nick and he could solve problems for you.
Look, my dad had such an impact on me growing up. The importance of doing things the right way, doing your best, work ethic. I mean, so many things that I go back to working at my dad's service station. I think also that my dad was a coach, and that's where he was toughest on all of us. He expected and demanded the best. So the elements of all the things that I believe in as a coach were instilled in me when I was 10 years old playing Pop Warner football.
Damn, man, you guys got no points.
And sometimes it seemed like nothing was ever good enough.
8 seconds to go in the game. We got to call timeout because we got 12 guys on the field.
The first coach to change Nick Saban's life was his father. The next was his head football coach at Kent State.
I never grew up wanting to be a coach. Coach James, Don James, who was my college coach, calls me in his office, says, I want you to be a graduate assistant and coach. And I said, Coach, why would I do that? I don't want to go to graduate school. You know, I was tired of being poor. We were, you know, and wanted to get a job and do something.
Nick's father had the gas station, and Nick always worked in the gas station. So that was something that he considered was having a car dealership and something that paralleled the gas station.
So he said, but, you know, Miss Terry's got another year of school. You promised your parents when they allowed you to get married that you'd both finish college. So, you know, he kind of put me on the spot, and I agreed to do it. After the first game of that season, I realized how much I liked being a coach, that it was a lot like playing. I liked the competition. I liked the relationships and involvement with the players. So I called my dad. I said, you know, this is really what I want to do. And he was excited and happy that, because I was, you know, like a lot of people when they're young, you're not for sure what you want to do, you know, where am I going to fit into this world? And, you know, I called my dad and I told him, and it's the last conversation I had with my dad before he passed away.
Obviously, we were shocked because he was young and we thought he was fit. He was jogging when he died. I think his first concern was his mother, who was home by herself.
He was self-employed with a service station, a small restaurant. That was going to be a difficult thing for my mom to be able to manage on her own. I had worked there for years. I could have done it, and no one would really allow me to do it.
His mother and the women in the family said, no, you know, we're so proud of what you're doing, and we want you to continue on.
To have great parents and great family support, I mean, this is a tremendous example.
Let's go. Good warm-up now. Let's go. Come on.
This career as a coach would have never occurred had the family not been so supportive of allowing me to do what they felt I wanted to do rather than what they needed for me to do at the time. Are you still playing like some 3-4 stuff, but mostly out of a lot of sync, but different guys dropping? And
I'm going back to just all 3-4.
Nick Saban loves talking ball, especially with an old pal like Bill Belichick.
Get the kids at the tackle now.
The pair met in Annapolis, where Saban and Belichick's father, Steve, worked on the Navy football staff. By then, Bill was an NFL assistant, already making a name for himself.
We got enough guys out there?
Yeah! Tight!
Bill used to come home in the summertime to visit his parents, and same age, same young guys trying to come up in the business. We just sort of naturally became friends. Bill probably got my job for me at the Houston Oilers, which was my first job in the NFL. And then I went to Toledo as the head coach.
I'm proud as hell of them. They should be proud of themselves. They've
I
accomplished.
was there for 1 year. Bill gets the Cleveland Browns head coaching job, and he started calling me about coming to Cleveland to be the defensive coordinator.
For us, it was a difficult decision. As much as we loved Bill and, you know, the lure of the NFL, the timing of leaving Nick's first head coaching job and really feeling bad about letting people down there in Toledo, it was tough.
And it just happened to be, you know, sometimes the stations of life that you're in, you know, my kids were little. So one of the most challenging times for Miss Terry with the kids.
If anyone else had called, there would not have been a consideration. But because it was Bill, made a lot of difference.
Nick was the first coach I hired and the best coach I hired. Nick was really my number one partner there. And I relied on him so heavily on every level.
I mean, if we don't play our ass off, they'll beat us.
Yeah, I was the head coach at Cleveland, but whatever success we had, we wouldn't have achieved without him.
All right, now, with all the one back we're getting, Pepper, I'm gonna
This is our 47th year, and I still would say that stint with Bill was the toughest on us. But you know, I think that's what makes you a better person. When you push yourself to beyond what you think is your limit, and then from then on, everything is just relative to that. It's a piece of cake.
10 seconds to play in this football game.
In 1994, we had a really, really good team. We had a really good defensive team and had gotten offensively where we're very competitive and just did a really great job of rebuilding a program.
Aikman straight back in the pocket, looks, end zone, to Novacek, but he's not in. He's down at the 1-yard line. The Browns have beaten the Cowboys.
It was one of the best experiences of my coaching career. It was one of the most difficult, but I learned a tremendous amount, and it's really helped me probably more, as much as anything, in my career.
For the Sabans, relationships are the roadmap of life. That's what steered them to Cleveland and then back to Michigan State, where Nick had once been an assistant and where in 1994 he was offered the head coaching job.
It happened in the beginning of December when we had 3 or 4 games left to play in the playoffs. When I told the people at Michigan State I wanted to stay there and finish the year with this team, I wasn't going to walk out. And if they hired me, they were going to have to hire me with that understanding.
David, you got to work through them, and I tried.
And they did.
You know, in the pros, if players sense you got one foot out the door, they don't perform, but I don't think there was ever any danger of that with Nick. He's got one speed. He's going to demand your best, whether he's there for a day, a season, half season, or a career.
The party has started as the Browns have won it 20-13.
When you went to Michigan State, I wish the transitions could be as smooth as that one was. And I certainly appreciate, you know, the job you did to finish the year in '94.
I really wanted to do it because I felt it was what I owed the players. If it wasn't for the players, I would have never got the opportunity.
There's nobody I respect more in football than Nick Saban, and I don't think there's anybody that's a better coach than Nick Saban, because Nick he does everything well.
When we want to go fast, these guys ain't even getting lined up.
To be able to do it twice in terms of the national championships, but he had great success at Michigan State as well, and would have had a lot of success in Miami had he stayed there. I have no doubt about that.
When we talked to Saban, he said, Bill did say, I wish you weren't coming into the AFC East.
Life gets tougher when he's there, that's for sure.
Twice a year.
It was interesting when Coach Saban came in because he kind of brought
That's what I'm talking about. Good job.
a little bit of a college mentality, a little more rah-rah, a lot more yelling.
We got Auburn, LSU, and Florida. Represent. Represent!
Whoa, what's all this screaming, and coach is always frowning.
So don't come out here with the poor me's. All right, poor me, my ass hurts. Poor me, my ham hurts. Poor me, this. When you hit the field and you walk across the line, that's all over.
Nick Saban had a vision for what every player could be, no matter what or where the player had been before.
I had been a 4-3 guy for, I guess, 7 years at that point when he came in. Had been to the Pro Bowl several times in a row, and I'm like, I don't want to change from a 4-3 DN to a stand-up 3-4 backer.
No, I remember when you went there, and I talked to Jason. He's like, I don't know about this 34. I'm like, 34, you're going to be, this is the best defense for you.
He's like, you can do so much more on the football field than what you do. Nick's a genius. Like, just trust him and go with it. And then I remember I was taking that trip to the Keys, and Coach Saban wanted to talk. We ended up getting on the phone. He was like, think some of the names, from the Kevin Greens to the Lawrence Taylors, Greg Lloyds. I mean, all the guys that have stood up in this 3-4 system. And an hour later, by the time we got done, I was ready to turn the boat around, come back, and start practicing. This is like in March or April. He sold me on it, and he expanded my horizons of learning the game of football.
Jason Taylor. That is a Pro Bowl play right there.
It was definitely life and career changing for me in a lot of ways. You have to get comfortable having uncomfortable conversations. That's another great thing I learned from Coach Saban.
Perhaps the most challenging conversations of Nick Saban's time in Miami began in December 2006, when the University of Alabama fired its head football coach and began to pursue Saban.
It's flattering that somebody would consider you for anything, but it's also disappointing that when you're trying your very best to do the best you can for your team, that it becomes a distraction or anybody would even ask about it. It's certainly not a distraction to me.
There was a lot of pushback in the beginning. I don't think he wanted to go.
I've stated what my intentions are, and they really haven't changed, so I don't know what the issue is, and I don't know why people keep asking about it. What they talk about over there is their business, but what's happening here is my business and our business, and that's what we're focused on, and that's what I'm committed to doing. I don't know how else I can say it, guys. I've said it 3 different occasions, and I don't know how else I can say it. And I don't know why you keep asking.
The famous television mark of him is on TV saying,
I'm not going to be the Alabama coach. What? I shouldn't even have to comment on this. I think I've said this over and over and over again.
That's what he has to say. He's got 65 guys sitting in the meeting room. He's trying to lead for the next month.
Why did you ultimately choose to leave Miami and come here?
Well, I think we had a chance to fix the quarterback situation. You know, the year before, Drew Brees was a free agent. We were in the mix to get him, and I think when that didn't work out, I was like, you know, we've worked our tail off, and because of this one position that we have not been able to solve, I just felt like I couldn't control my own destiny.
I was not particularly happy there. You know, the head coach's wife and family in the NFL, your role is a lot different than it is in college. Helping with recruiting and alumni and helping with donors and raising money for this and that and community involvement, it's just a lot more involvement in college.
You know, having the opportunity to come back to Alabama, which was someplace you could win in college football, which maybe that opportunity doesn't come. I just said, you know, maybe it might be a better path, and it certainly has worked out well.
Well, as you know, Nick Saban has decided not to return to the Dolphins. You know, it is what it is. I met with Nick at his home this morning with his wife Terry and Nick. You know, there's a lot of reasons why decisions get made in life, but the net is that he's not coming back. He'll be leaving this afternoon, going to Alabama.
We loved Wayne, and he was in our living room when we made the decision. We were all crying. We were all crying when the decision was made.
Are you upset about the way Nick Saban handled this over the last couple of weeks with you?
Well, the answer is no, I'm not upset. Because it's more involved than what you think, Joe. And I've been through this with Nick for quite some time now. And I feel the pain and so forth and so on of Nick and Terry. And it's not a very simple thing.
And before I introduce the coach, I would like to take just a moment and introduce his family, and certainly in introducing Terry, to say to you how important she was in the decision that was made by the coach. She loves college football and longed to be back in it. So does Coach Saban. But Terry Saban was the one that made me feel good when I called her. Terry, would you please stand?
And by the way, on the subject of money, I wasn't going to bring this up, but seeing as you did, Nick never talked to me about money. He never talked to me about an extension. He never asked me for anything, because I honestly believe this was not about money.
Do you feel like you disrespected the Dolphins organization or their fans, and is there anything you'd like to say to them?
Well, I think that the 2 years I was in Miami, that I affected the team in a positive way.
Hey, he maybe can crack a smile now, but hey, after 24 hours, he's going to get on our ass again. Yeah. I promise you that.
And it was premature to not stay there. All right, but if I knew, and Wayne and I talked about this, that my heart was to go back to college. I don't think it would have been fair to the organization if I stayed. We were playing to get in a state championship when I was a sophomore, and I called the plays as a quarterback. We got behind in the game 18-0. We came back, made it 18-12. We're going 2 minutes at the end of the game. So 4th and 12, we're on about the 20-yard line going in to score. My high school coach, he calls the last time out. So I run over to the sidelines. He called me Young Nicky all the time. He said, "Young Nicky, what do you think?" I think you should call this play, is what I think. And he said, "Look, you got a left halfback that's the fastest guy in the state. You got a 3-time All-State guy playing split end. Just call a play that one of those two guys get the ball." So I called 26 crossfire pass. Threw it to left halfback, faked it to him, to the post corner of the X, 25-yard touchdown, and we won the game 19-18. But after the game, he told me this. He says, it really doesn't make any difference what plays you call sometimes. It's what players you have doing it.
Nick Saban has consistently identified and developed football's best players. He's the first college head coach to produce a first-round NFL draft choice at every offensive and defensive position.
Jalen Waddle, wide receiver, Alabama.
Saban also holds the record for the most total first-rounders produced by a college head coach. In 2021 alone, the Crimson Tide had 6 of the NFL's 32 first-round picks.
Alex Leatherwood, Alabama.
It's no wonder Saban has won 7 national titles, the most by any coach in history.
Talk for a moment about what it would mean to your father right now to know that his young son has won national championships.
Well, I think my father would be proud of the players. That's what I think. And, you know,
Nick's father was kind of bigger than life. And so many times we'd say, "Wish your dad were here to see this," because I feel like he had something to do with that. And we always end it by saying, he can see it.
Big Nick's legacy lives on through Nick Saban's football teams, but also at the Birmingham car dealership that Nicholas helps operate. Turns out, the Saban's football life led them back to the original family business, thanks in part to a philosophy born at the service station.
The biggest thing with the process that he taught me from an early age on is, not looking at the scoreboard, not being result-oriented.
I mean, sometimes all people do is look at the scoreboard, but yet it's how you play the game, how you compete in the game, how smart you play, how you execute. that is going to make the difference.
We've tried to implement the process at our dealership in the same light. You know, it's not about selling 100 new cars in a month, winning best of the best, or any of those accolades you can win. It's about making this one customer happy. And if you can make this one customer happy today, then go on to the next one, you'll reach your goals.
It's not okay to go out there and not do your job well. I don't care what the situation in the game is, there is no scoreboard.
Listen, I'm a dork. I go to the gym, I YouTube Saban speeches.
We're going to try to win the game, and we're going to play the best players that we can play to win the game. And we're not assuming that it's going to be an easy game, and we're not assuming that we'll have opportunity just to play anybody that wants to play, to expedite anything except winning the game. So we're going to play everybody who can expedite winning the game. That's what we're going to do. So I don't think anybody should expect us to do anything else.
I love it. And you always pick up something. Do it and practice it until you can't get it wrong.
Not till you get it right,
so
until you can't get it wrong.
People sit at the light party like, what's he listening to? And I'm thinking I'm listening to some Kevin Hart or whatever. It's Nick Saban.
You guys are getting me fired up. You better be careful on this one, buddy. You might want to just pass that thing on down the road.
Saban steps past Paul Bryant with his 7th national championship.
Is there ever a point where you just allow yourself just to say, just to you, not bad for a kid from Monaga, West Virginia?
Not really, because, you know, you're always looking forward to, you know, the next challenge. You know, winning sort of has a price. How resilient are you going to be? It's a little easier to get complacent and, you know, have a little bit of a blatant disregard for doing what's right. I just look at every year as a new season. Like I took a new job and this is a new team, and, you know, what do we got to do to try to get them to play well? And you always lose about 25% of your team, so that is a challenge in and of itself.